Before we begin, let's take one breath together. Each morning is a door opening to new possibility. Maybe you know this feeling. The alarm jolts you awake, and before your eyes even open, your mind is already racing. What you didn't finish yesterday, what's waiting today, that tightness already forming in your chest. But the Buddha discovered something profound. Suffering begins in the mind, and so does peace. In Buddhist tradition, dawn isn't just the start of a day, it's a sacred moment. Your mind is still soft, not yet hardened by the rush of thoughts. Your heart is still open before the world asks anything of you. For the next few hours, we'll explore 10 ancient Buddhist teachings together. Not rules you must follow, but gentle invitations. Small practices that transformed monks centuries ago and can transform how you begin each day now. You don't need to master all 10. Choose one that speaks to you. That's enough. Get comfortable. Maybe adjust your pillow. Pull a blanket closer. Let your body truly settle. This time is yours. If it feels right, share your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe what you're hoping to find in these teachings, or simply that you're here. The door is already open. Let's step through together, beginning where all awakening begins, the moment you open your eyes. Each day that opens before you is a gift. Though we forget this, the moment consciousness returns, the eyes open, and immediately the mind reaches backward to yesterday's unfinished business, forward to today's demands. What you didn't complete, what's waiting, what might go wrong. The gift of waking gets buried under these thoughts before you've even left the bed. Buddhism invites you to begin from a different place entirely. Not from what you lack, but from what already is. A place deeper than the mind's habitual complaints. The place of gratitude. Picture yourself right now, or tomorrow morning when you first wake. You're still in bed, body warm, mind hovering between sleep and day. Before you move, before you plan, before you remember what's difficult in your life, pause. Just for a moment. Place one hand gently on your chest. Feel what's happening there. Your heart, beating steadily. It's been doing this all night, while you slept, without your attention, without your effort. Faithful, constant, keeping you alive. And then, one word. Just one. Thank you. That's the practice. It's not complex. No special training required. No perfect state of mind needed. Just your hand, your heartbeat, and that simple word, meeting the morning. In Buddhist understanding, a grateful mind is a peaceful mind. The mind that constantly searches for what's missing, what's wrong, what should be different. That mind lives in perpetual suffering, not because circumstances are so terrible, but because it's trained itself to focus on absence rather than presence. The grateful mind does something revolutionary. It acknowledges what's here. I'm not preaching at you. I'm just observing what happens inside a human being. Notice it yourself. When you spend your first waking moments cataloging problems, how does your body feel? There's a tightness, isn't there? A heaviness. Now imagine beginning instead with gratitude, even if you don't feel it perfectly, even if it seems forced at first. Something shifts. Something softens. Maybe you do have worries. Maybe real difficulties cloud your life right now. Financial stress, relationship pain, health concerns, grief. These are real, and I'm not asking you to pretend they don't exist. But even when clouds fill the sky, even when your mind feels heavy with legitimate concerns, this practice of morning gratitude opens a crack of light. What can you be grateful for, even on a difficult day? The roof over your head, keeping weather out while you slept. The bed that held your body through the night. The lungs that kept breathing without your conscious direction. Your body, imperfect as it might feel, still accompanying you on this journey. The fact that you woke at all, not everyone did. These aren't grand things. They're ordinary, easily overlooked. But ordinariness doesn't mean worthless. In Buddhist practice, we learn to see the profound in the simple. There's a beautiful image for this practice. Imagine you have a flower inside you. Not a physical flower, but something like it. A capacity for peace, for openness, for light. This flower exists in everyone, but it needs water to bloom. Gratitude is that water. Each morning when you place your hand on your chest and say thank you, you're watering this inner flower. Not dramatically. You won't see immediate blooming, but over time, with patient daily watering, something changes. The flower grows, and flowers do what flowers do naturally. They perfume the air around them. Your gratitude, practiced each morning, begins to perfume your whole day. This doesn't mean your circumstances magically improve. The difficulties might still be there, but your relationship to them shifts. You meet challenges from a different inner place. More grounded, more stable, less reactive. You start seeing opportunities hidden inside difficulties. You notice small beauties you would have walked past. You respond to people with more patience because you're not approaching the day from a place of internal deficit. The gratitude you cultivated at dawn quietly changes how you move through the hours that follow. The Vietnamese Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, used to remind his students of something we forget constantly. He'd say that we already have enough conditions to be happy. Right now, not someday, when we achieve the right things or fix the right problems. Now, think about what enough means. We're conditioned to believe enough is always just beyond reach. A little more money, a better relationship, different circumstances, then we'd have enough. But this is a trap. The finish line keeps moving. You arrive at what you thought was enough, and suddenly, it isn't anymore. Gratitude practice breaks this cycle. It doesn't make you complacent or stop you from working toward good things, but it shifts the foundation from "I don't have enough" to "I can work with what is." That shift changes everything. So here's what this looks like in your real life, in your real morning. Tomorrow, when consciousness returns, and you find yourself in that space between sleep and day, before you reach for your phone, before you let the thought spiral begin, remember. One hand on your chest. Feel that faithful heart. One word, thank you. You're not performing for anyone. No one needs to know you're doing this. This isn't content for social media or a way to prove you're spiritual. This is an intimate conversation between you and life itself. Private, sacred in its simplicity. Maybe you'll feel a warm wave of genuine gratitude wash through you. Maybe you'll feel nothing at all. Maybe it will seem mechanical, forced, even fake. That's all okay. The practice isn't about manufacturing a specific feeling. It's about the gesture itself. The decision to begin your day by acknowledging life rather than immediately problematizing it. Like planting a seed, you don't demand the seed sprout immediately. You plant it, water it, and trust the process. Some mornings the gratitude will feel real and deep. Other mornings it will feel like going through motions. Both mornings matter. Both a practice. And if you forget tomorrow, if you wake and immediately grab your phone and fall into the old pattern, then the next morning, begin again. This is crucial to understand about Buddhist practice. It's not about perfection. It's about returning. You'll forget. You'll skip days. You'll wake anxious and spiral into worry before remembering you intended to do something different. That's not failure. That's being human. The practice is in the returning. Each time you remember and come back to gratitude, you're strengthening something inside yourself. You're training the mind the way you'd train any skill, with repetition, patience, and self-compassion when you stumble. Think of it this way. Your mind has grooves worn deep by years of certain patterns. Waking to worry is a groove. Waking to complaint is a groove. Waking to immediate planning and anxiety is a groove. These grooves are so deep that your thoughts naturally flow down them without any effort on your part. Gratitude practice begins to carve a new groove. At first it's shallow, easily missed. Your thoughts keep falling into the old patterns because those grooves are deeper, more familiar. But each morning you practice gratitude, even imperfectly, you're deepening this new groove. Over weeks and months, this new pathway becomes more established. Eventually, gratitude becomes more natural, less forced. It becomes your mind's default orientation, rather than something you have to consciously construct. But this takes time. Western culture often promises instant transformation. Do this one thing and your life will change tomorrow. Buddhism is more honest. It says, do this one thing consistently, with patience, and without harsh self-judgment. And over time, you'll notice you've become someone different. Not because you forced change, but because you watered what you wanted to grow. The morning is the perfect time for this practice because of where you are mentally and emotionally when you first wake. Your mind hasn't fully constructed its daily narrative yet. The ego isn't fully online. There's a softness, an openness that exists in those first moments. Throughout the day, the mind builds layers of story, identity, preference, judgment. By afternoon, you're deep in the narrative of who you are and what your life means. But in the morning, especially in those first seconds of consciousness, you're closer to something more fundamental, something less constructed. Gratitude planted in that fertile ground takes root differently than gratitude forced in the middle of a stressful afternoon. Both have value, but morning gratitude shapes the foundation of your day. There's also something to be said for the cumulative effect of beginning this way. One morning of gratitude might make a small difference. 7 mornings in a row start creating momentum. 30 mornings begin rewiring habitual patterns. 365 mornings transform how you meet existence itself. This is the Buddhist understanding of practice. Small, consistent actions compound over time into profound change, not through force or willpower, but through patient repetition, with an attitude of gentleness toward yourself. So as you lie there tomorrow morning, hand on chest, saying your quiet thank you to life, remember, you're participating in something ancient. Countless practitioners before you have begun their days exactly this way. Monks in temples, lay people in homes, people in every circumstance, and culture across centuries. You're not alone in this practice. You're joining a river of practice that has flowed for thousands of years. And your small morning gesture adds to that river, keeps it flowing forward. This isn't about being Buddhist or adopting a religious identity. You don't need to believe anything particular. You're simply working with the raw material of your own consciousness, learning to shape it in ways that create less suffering and more peace. And as you rest in this gratitude, still lying in bed, body warm, heart beating steadily beneath your palm, you might notice something else that's been there all along. Your breath, moving in and out naturally, sustaining you without effort. And that becomes the bridge to the next practice, the next doorway opening. And as you rest in this gratitude, still lying in bed, body warm and heart beating steadily beneath your palm, you might notice something else that's been there all along. Your breath. It's been moving in and out this entire time, hasn't it? While you placed your hand on your chest, while you said thank you, while you read or listened to these words, breath continued its patient work. Rising and falling, entering and leaving, sustaining you without asking permission, without needing your attention. This breath has been with you since your very first moment of life outside the womb. That initial gasp, that first inhale, and it hasn't stopped since. Through sleep and waking, through joy and sorrow, through every experience you've ever had, breath has been the constant companion. Usually, it's invisible to us. Background noise we never notice. But right now, in this moment, you're becoming aware of it. And that awareness itself is the practice. In Buddhist tradition, conscious breathing is called anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. This practice has been transmitted teacher to student for over 2,500 years, not because it's complicated or mystical, but because it's profound in its simplicity. Breath serves as a bridge between your body and your mind. It's both voluntary and involuntary. You can control it consciously, yet it continues automatically when you're not paying attention. It exists right at the boundary between what you can direct and what simply happens. More importantly, breath anchors you to the present moment. You can think about yesterday's breath or tomorrow's breath, but you can only actually breathe right now. This breath, this inhale, this exhale. When you bring attention to breathing, you're automatically bringing attention to now. So before you leave the bed this morning, before you reach for your phone or begin planning your day, let's take just 3 breaths together. 3 conscious breaths. I'll guide you through them as if we're sitting together. You don't need to do anything except follow along. First breath. Inhale slowly through your nose. Feel the air as it enters, cool at your nostrils, traveling down through your throat, filling your lungs. Notice your chest expanding, your belly rising, if you're breathing deeply enough. Feel how this incoming air awakens your cells, brings fresh oxygen to your blood. Now exhale, releasing through your nose or mouth, whichever feels natural. As you breathe out, imagine you're releasing everything accumulated during the night. Any tension held in your body, any residue of dreams still clinging to consciousness, any worry about the day ahead, just letting it all go with this out-breath. That's 1. Second breath, even slower this time. Inhale gently and pay attention to something you might not have noticed before. There's a pause at the top of the inhale. That moment when your lungs are full and you haven't yet begun to exhale. Rest in that pause for just a second. Then exhale, slowly and completely. And notice there's another pause at the bottom. When your lungs are empty and you haven't yet begun the next inhale, rest there too. In those pauses, something opens. A gap in the constant motion. A tiny window of stillness between the movement of breathing. You don't need to do anything with this observation. Just notice it. That's 2. Third breath now. This time, don't try to control it at all. Don't make it deep or slow or any particular way. Just allow your body to breathe however it wants to breathe. You simply watch. Observe this breath as it naturally occurs. Feel it arriving without your effort. Feel it departing without your command. This is how breath has worked your entire life, automatically, wisely, without needing management. That's 3. Now just rest for a moment with whatever you're experiencing. Maybe your body feels more awake. Maybe your mind feels slightly clearer. Maybe nothing feels different at all. All of this is fine. You've probably noticed how your breath changes throughout the day depending on your emotional state. When you're anxious, breath becomes shallow and rapid, trapped high in your chest. When you're relaxed, it deepens naturally, settling into your belly. When you're angry, it becomes sharp and quick. When you're peaceful, it flows smooth and even. The breath reflects your inner state. But here's what's remarkable. The relationship works both ways. Just as your emotions affect your breath affects your emotions. When you consciously slow and deepen your breathing, your nervous system receives a message. Things are okay. You can calm down. This isn't superstition or wishful thinking. It's how your body is wired. So these 3 conscious breaths you just took, they're not just meditation practice. They're a gift to your nervous system, a signal that this morning can begin from a place of centeredness rather than reactivity. This practice isn't about fixing yourself. You're not broken. It's about befriending yourself, meeting yourself with attention and kindness first thing in the morning. The Buddha taught something important about breath. He said it's the one refuge you never leave home without. You might forget your keys, your phone, your wallet, but you never forget your breath because it's always with you. When you're lost in thought, spiraling into worry or planning or reminiscence, breath brings you back. When you're overwhelmed by emotion, breath steadies you. When you're scattered and fragmented, breath gathers you together. It's like having a wise teacher who never speaks, but is infinitely patient, always waiting for your attention. Breath doesn't demand anything from you. It doesn't judge you for forgetting about it for hours or days. The moment you remember and bring awareness to breathing, it's right there, ready to guide you home to the present moment. This is why breath is so central to Buddhist meditation practice. Not because there's anything magical about it, but because it's reliable, always available, and directly accessible to your awareness. Think about your day ahead. Maybe you have a stressful meeting, traffic that will test your patience, a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, deadlines pressing on you. Whatever challenges await, you'll have breath with you. Even if the rest of your day becomes chaotic, you began with this anchor. You established this connection to conscious breathing before everything else started demanding your attention. And you can return to it anytime. Sitting in that meeting, feeling tension rise, 3 breaths. Stuck in traffic, irritation building, 3 breaths. Before that difficult conversation, 3 breaths. You're back, centered again. The Vietnamese Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, offered a beautiful teaching about conscious breathing. He would say, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Such simple words, yet they contain a complete practice. Notice he doesn't say, I try to calm my body, or I hope to smile. He speaks in the present tense, with confidence. The in-breath calms. The out-breath allows a smile. You can use these words if they resonate with you, or you can simply be with the breath in silence. The words are just a vehicle. What matters is the attention, the awareness, the returning to this moment through the gateway of breath. Here's something else worth understanding about this practice. It's not about breathing better or achieving some perfect breath. You don't need to breathe deeply every moment or maintain some ideal breathing pattern. The practice is simply being present while you breathe, noticing it, feeling the miracle of this automatic process that keeps you alive. Every single breath is a small miracle when you think about it. Air enters your body, travels to your lungs, oxygen crosses into your bloodstream, carbon dioxide returns and gets expelled. This happens 15 to 20 times every minute without you having to remember or manage it. Your body knows exactly what to do. When you notice breath, when you bring consciousness to this automatic process, something awakens. Not in some mystical sense, but in a very practical way. You become aware that you're alive, that you're here, that this moment is happening. Most of us spend most of our time anywhere but here. We're replaying yesterday, rehearsing tomorrow, lost in fantasy, or fear, or planning. The present moment gets missed entirely. Breath is the doorway back. Always available, always now. As you lie there this morning, having taken your 3 conscious breaths, you might notice your body feels more present, more inhabited. You're not just a head full of thoughts anymore. You're a breathing being, connected to the physical reality of existence. This embodiment matters. So much of our suffering happens because we live entirely in our heads, cut off from the body's wisdom. The body is always in the present moment. It doesn't worry about tomorrow or regret yesterday. It simply is, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. When you bring attention to breathing, you're essentially asking your mind to join your body in the here and now. You're reuniting aspects of yourself that spend too much time separated. And this reunion, this coming home to yourself through breath, creates a foundation for everything else you'll do today. You're not fragmenting yourself right from the start. You're beginning with some basic wholeness, some integration. Throughout the day, you might notice moments when you naturally return to conscious breathing. Maybe you're waiting in line and you suddenly become aware of your breath. Maybe you're between tasks and there's a pause where you notice your breathing. These aren't random moments. They're your consciousness remembering what you practiced this morning. The morning practice plants a seed. Throughout the day, that seed sprouts little moments of remembrance, little returns to presence. You don't have to force these moments. They arise naturally because you established the pattern at dawn. This is how practice works in Buddhism. You're not trying to maintain perfect awareness every second. You're creating conditions for awareness to arise more frequently, more easily. Like water finding established channels, your attention learns to flow back to breath more readily the more you practice. Some days the 3 morning breaths will feel profound. Other days they'll feel mechanical, like you're just going through the motions. Both experiences are valid. Both are practice. The quality of your experience isn't what matters most. What matters is that you're showing up, that you're taking these few moments to remember yourself, to honor your life with attention before the day sweeps you away into its demands. And now, with gratitude established in your heart and breath, anchoring you to this present moment, you're ready to consider something else. How do you want to move through this day? Not what you'll do, but how you'll be while doing it. With this breath as your foundation, with this connection to the present moment established, you can now choose an intention for your day, a quality of being you want to cultivate, a direction you want to move toward. The breath has prepared you for this next step, grounded you in your body, gathered your scattered attention into this moment. From this place of presence, you can see more clearly what matters to you, what kind of person you want to be as you move through the hours ahead. With gratitude established in your heart and breath anchoring you to this present moment, you've created something rare in our modern world, a pocket of clarity before the day begins making demands. You're still in bed, or perhaps sitting now, body awake, but mind not yet fragmented by the 100 directions it will be pulled today. This is the moment to choose. Not what you'll do. Your calendar likely already holds that information, but how you'll be while doing it. Each morning is like receiving a blank canvas. You're the artist, holding the brush. But here's what most of us do. We never consciously pick up that brush. We let the day paint us instead. We react to whatever appears, respond to whoever demands our attention, move through hours, shaped entirely by external forces. By evening, we look at the canvas and barely recognize what's there. We didn't choose these colors, this composition, this quality of energy. It just happened to us. Buddhism offers a different approach. Before the day begins painting you, you make one conscious mark on the canvas. You establish an intention. In the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path, this is called Samma Sankappa, right intention. It's not about goal setting in the way Western culture understands goals. You're not making a to-do list or defining success metrics. You're choosing a direction for your inner life, an orientation for your consciousness. The question is simple and profound. How do I want to move through today? Sit with that question for a moment. Not, what do I need to accomplish? But, how do I want to be? Your intention might be very simple. Maybe today you want to pause before reacting to things. Just that, a breath between stimulus and response. Or maybe your intention is, today, I'll listen more than I speak. Or, today, I'll move through tasks without rushing. Or, today, I'll be kind to myself when I make mistakes. Notice these aren't grand spiritual declarations. They're honest orientations toward qualities of being that matter to you. They're intimate, personal, true. You know that feeling when the day spins out of control, when you're completely reactive, bouncing from one demand to another, like a pinball, when you get to evening exhausted, having spent the entire day responding rather than choosing. Your morning intention is the thread you can hold in those moments. It's your way home when you've gotten lost in the chaos. The Buddha taught something essential about how change happens in human beings. He said everything begins in the mind. Every word you'll speak today, every action you'll take, every gesture you'll make, all of it first arises as mental energy, as thought, as intention. Before your hand moves to help someone, the intention to help forms in consciousness. Before you speak harshly, irritation arises in the mind. Before you choose patience, the intention toward patience appears. Most of this happens unconsciously, shaped by habit and conditioning. But you have a moment of choice each morning. You can consciously plant an intention before habits take over. Think of your consciousness as soil. At dawn, that soil is soft, receptive, not yet hardened by the day's heat. When you plant an intention in morning consciousness, you're putting a seed in fertile ground. That seed will influence how the day unfolds, not rigidly controlling it, but gently shaping it. There's a teaching in Zen about bamboo that helps understand the nature of intention. Bamboo has an incredibly strong root system, deep, interconnected, nearly impossible to destroy. But above ground, bamboo is remarkably flexible. In strong winds, it bends dramatically without breaking. Your intention is like bamboo. It needs a strong root, genuine commitment, honest acknowledgement of what matters to you. But it doesn't need to be rigid in form. Life will bend you today, Unexpected things will happen. Plans will change. People will surprise you. If your intention is brittle and demanding, you'll break under that pressure. But if your intention has bamboo's nature, rooted but flexible, you can bend with circumstances without losing yourself. You have direction without brittleness. Let's be honest about how this actually works in real life. You set your intention this morning. Maybe, today, I want to respond with patience. Beautiful. Then by 10:30 you're snapping at a coworker or feeling irritated in traffic. This is completely normal, expected, even. You haven't failed. Maybe around lunch, you suddenly remember your intention. Oh, I wanted to practice patience today. I've already lost it 3 times. That moment of remembering, that's the practice. Not staying in perfect alignment with your intention every second, but noticing when you've drifted and coming back. This returning is everything. No judgment needed, no harsh self-criticism, just, oh, I drifted. I'll come back now. You'll do this multiple times throughout the day. Drift and return. Forget and remember. Lose the thread and pick it up again. Each return strengthens something in you, trains your consciousness to recognize when you're off course and gently correct. From the Dhammapada, the Buddha's teaching comes, we are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. This sounds deterministic, like we're prisoners of our thinking, but there's profound freedom hidden here. If we become what we think, then we can choose what to cultivate in thought. We can't control every thought that arises. Thoughts emerge from deep conditioning, from past experiences, from circumstances beyond our choosing. But we can choose which thoughts we water, which we give attention to, which we allow to shape us. Your morning intention is choosing what to water, choosing which quality of consciousness you want to cultivate today. Here's something important to understand. Your intention doesn't need to sound spiritual or impressive. There's no right or wrong intention, no hierarchy of noble versus mundane. Maybe your intention today is, I won't check my phone first thing when I wake up. That's valid. That's you choosing to start the day on your terms, rather than being hijacked by notifications. Maybe it's, I'll actually take a lunch break instead of eating at my desk. That's you choosing to honor your body's need for pause, for nourishment, taken with awareness. Maybe it's, I'll say one true thing today, instead of just going along. That's you choosing authenticity over comfort. Whatever your intention is, what matters is that it's genuinely yours. Not borrowed from a book or copied from someone else's practice. Not what you think you should intend, but what actually resonates with where you are right now in your life. Sometimes your intention will be about your inner state, patience, presence, curiosity, kindness. Other times it might be about specific behavior, listening without interrupting, pausing before scrolling, speaking up when usually you'd stay silent. Both types of intention are valuable. The practice of setting intention doesn't take long. You're still in bed or just sitting up, having practiced gratitude and conscious breathing. Maybe 30 seconds of quiet reflection, asking yourself sincerely, what quality do I want to bring to today? You might hear an answer immediately, or you might sit with the question and let something emerge. Trust what comes. Your deeper wisdom knows what you need to practice today. Once you've identified your intention, you can speak it silently to yourself. Just once, clearly, like making a promise to yourself. Today, I will move slowly. Today, I will notice beauty. Today, I will be gentle with myself. Some people like to write their intention down. Others prefer to just hold it in awareness. Either way works. What matters is the moment of conscious choosing before the day's momentum sweeps you along. Throughout the day, your intention works quietly in the background. Even when you've forgotten it consciously, it's there, influencing small choices, gently pulling you back toward the quality you chose to cultivate. You'll notice it most in the gap between stimulus and response. Someone says something irritating, and instead of immediately reacting, there's a tiny pause. Your intention is working there, creating space for choice. Or you're about to rush through something, and you suddenly slow down slightly. You didn't consciously remember your intention to move slowly, but it's operating anyway, subtly shaping your pace. This is how intention works, not as rigid control, but as gentle influence. Like a compass that doesn't force you to go north, but quietly shows you which direction north is, so you can choose your path with awareness. And here's something you'll discover over time. The intentions you set morning after morning start shaping not just your days, but your character. If you spend a month intending patience each morning, even imperfectly practicing it, you become a more patient person. Not through force, but through gentle daily cultivation. The Buddha taught that our character is formed by repeated thoughts and actions. A single angry thought doesn't define you, but cultivating anger daily does. A single kind act doesn't transform you, but daily practice of kindness does. Intention is choosing what you want to cultivate, then trusting the natural process of growth that comes from consistent planting. Sometimes you'll set an intention and realize by mid-morning it's not what you actually needed today. The day revealed something different was required. That's fine. You can adjust. Intention isn't a vow you can't break. It's a direction you can refine as you walk. The practice isn't about getting it perfect. It's about starting your day consciously rather than automatically. It's about remembering you have choice in how you meet experience, even when you can't choose the experience itself. You can't control whether traffic is bad, whether your meeting goes well, whether someone is kind to you or difficult. But you can set an intention for how you want to be present with whatever comes. That's your power, your freedom. As you lie there considering your intention for today, you might notice something else happening. Your mind might already be creating expectations about how the day should go, already building a detailed script of how things need to unfold for you to feel okay. This is natural. The mind loves planning, predicting, controlling. But those expectations, however reasonable they seem, often become the source of suffering. Because reality rarely follows our scripts exactly. And when it doesn't, when the day goes differently than we expected, we suffer not because of what actually happened, but because it didn't match what we thought should happen. So having set your intention, your chosen quality of being for today, the next invitation is to release your grip on expectations about how the day must unfold. To hold your intention like bamboo, rooted but flexible, directed but not rigid. This brings us to something subtle but crucial in Buddhist practice. The difference between intention and expectation, between direction and demand, between having a compass and insisting the terrain match your map. You've set your intention for the day, maybe to move slowly, to listen deeply, to be kind to yourself. Beautiful. And then, almost immediately, your mind does something very natural. It starts building a script. If I'm patient today, then this meeting will go smoothly. If I stay calm, then people will respond well. If I do everything right, then I'll feel good by evening. The mind loves creating these conditional statements, these detailed predictions about how the day should unfold. We all do it. It feels like planning, like being prepared. But hidden inside these expectations is the seed of suffering. Maybe you expect your morning meeting to go a certain way. You've imagined how people will respond, what decisions will be made, how smoothly things will flow. Or you expect your partner to greet you warmly when you see them. Or you expect your body to feel energized today because you slept 7 hours. Or you expect traffic to be light because it usually is on Tuesdays. These expectations seem so reasonable, don't they? So logical. But watch what happens when reality differs even slightly from your script. The meeting takes an unexpected turn. Your partner is distracted, not warm. Despite 7 hours of sleep, you feel tired. Traffic is inexplicably jammed. And immediately, there's that feeling, that tightness in your chest, that inner resistance, that voice saying, "This isn't how it's supposed to be." The Buddha taught about this 2,500 years ago in what we call the Four Noble Truths. The first truth is direct and honest. There is suffering, dukkha, this universal experience of dissatisfaction, of things not being quite right, of life not matching our desires. But the second truth is where it gets interesting. The Buddha said, suffering doesn't come primarily from external events. It comes from our clinging, our attachment to how we think things should be. The traffic jam isn't the problem. Your expectation of clear roads meeting the reality of jammed traffic. That's where suffering lives. In the gap between what you expected and what is. Think about your morning so far, or how tomorrow morning might unfold. Maybe you expected to sleep well last night, but you didn't. You woke multiple times, or couldn't fall asleep for hours. Now you're tired, and there's suffering in that. Not just the physical tiredness, but the story you're telling yourself about how you should feel. You expected to wake feeling energized and ready, but instead, you feel heavy and slow. The expectation unmet becomes a small suffering. Then maybe you expected to have time for coffee and a calm breakfast, but you woke late and now you're rushing. Another expectation unmet. Another small suffering added to the pile. By the time you leave the house, you've already accumulated multiple disappointments, not because terrible things happened, but because reality didn't match your script. Buddhism offers a practice for this, simple in words, but profound in effect. As you lie there, having set your intention, say this quietly to yourself. Today, I leave space for what is. Just that. Today I leave space for what is. This isn't giving up on your plans or dreams. It's not becoming passive or apathetic about your life. It's choosing to hold your plans with open palms instead of clenched fists. Remember the bamboo teaching from your intention practice? Let's deepen that now. Bamboo has those incredibly strong, deep roots we talked about. Your intention is like those roots, keeping you grounded in what matters to you. But above ground, bamboo doesn't resist the wind. When strong gusts come, bamboo bends dramatically, almost touching the ground sometimes. But it doesn't break. It doesn't snap. A rigid tree, standing firm and unbending, looks stronger. But when the storm comes, that rigidity becomes brittleness. The tree snaps. It can't accommodate what the wind demands. Your intention is the strong root. Today I want to move slowly. Or, today I want to listen deeply. That remains. But your expectations about how that will look, about how people will respond, about what will happen as a result, those need to be flexible, like bamboo in wind. You can have clear direction without rigid demands about the form that direction takes. This is wisdom. Can you remember a time when everything went wrong according to your expectations? A day that completely didn't go as planned? Maybe a cancellation, a change in schedule, something unexpected that threw off your whole script. And then, sometimes, something beautiful emerged from that disruption. An unexpected conversation, a moment of rest you wouldn't have taken, a different path that turned out better than the one you'd planned. Something you never would have experienced if your expectations had been met. It couldn't have been planned because you didn't even know it was possible. It arrived only because you didn't get what you expected, only because reality deviated from your script. This happens more than we realize, but we're so busy being disappointed about unmet expectations that we miss the gifts hidden inside the unexpected. The Buddha told a story that's relevant here. He said the Dharma, Buddhist teachings and practices, are like a raft for crossing a river. You need the raft while you're in the water. But once you reach the other shore, you don't pick up the raft and carry it on your back. You leave it behind. It served its purpose. Expectations are like that raft. They serve a purpose, helping you prepare, giving you direction, allowing you to plan. But once you're in the actual moment, once you're on the shore of reality, you need to let go of the expectation and deal with what actually is. The problem is, we keep carrying the raft. But I expected clear traffic. But I expected them to be kind. But I expected to feel better. We're standing on solid ground, arguing with reality about what we thought the ground should look like. This doesn't mean becoming passive or not caring about outcomes. That's a common misunderstanding of this practice. You still plan your day. You still work toward good things. You still have preferences and make efforts. But underneath all that planning and effort is a different quality. Acceptance of what actually is, not war with reality. There's a Zen story about a student who approached his master with a question. "Master, what is Buddha?" The master replied simply, "The one in the hall." The student, excited, rushed to the hall, expecting to find someone special, some enlightened being sitting there. But the hall was empty. Confused and disappointed, the student returned to the master. "There's no one in the hall." The master smiled. "You expected Buddha to look a certain way, didn't you? You went looking for your expectation instead of looking for what was actually there." This is what we do constantly. We're so busy looking for our expectations that we miss what's actually present. Expectations are the mind's attempt at control, at creating certainty in an uncertain world. If I can predict how things will go, if I can imagine the script accurately enough, then I'll feel safe. I'll be prepared. I won't be caught off guard. But life doesn't work that way. No amount of expectation building creates actual control. You can't script other people's responses. You can't guarantee outcomes. You can't force reality to match your imagination of it. The peace you're seeking, the peace these morning practices are cultivating, isn't found in successfully controlling outcomes. It's found in being present with whatever comes. This is a radical shift in how most of us approach life. We've been taught that peace comes from getting what we want, from having things go our way, from successfully manipulating circumstances to match our preferences. Buddhism says no, that's not where peace lives. That's where temporary pleasure might live, but not peace. Peace lives in equanimity, in the ability to meet life as it actually unfolds, rather than constantly fighting for it to be different. So as you prepare to enter your day, having set your intention with strong roots, practice holding your expectations lightly. Yes, you have a sense of how you'd like things to go. Yes, you have preferences and hopes. But can you hold all of that with an open hand? Can you say to yourself, I have an idea about how today might unfold, and I'm willing to meet whatever actually unfolds. This willingness to meet reality on its own terms, rather than your terms, is a form of courage. It takes bravery to release the illusion of control that expectations provide. It takes trust to walk into a day without a rigid script. But what you gain is so much greater than what you lose. You gain availability to the present moment. You gain the ability to respond wisely to what is, rather than reacting constantly to what isn't. You gain resilience, flexibility, peace. When something unexpected happens, and it will, you won't crash as hard because you weren't clinging so tightly to how it was supposed to be. You'll have that bamboo quality, bending with the wind of circumstance, while remaining rooted in your intention. Throughout your day, you might notice the moment expectations arise. You're about to enter a conversation, and your mind quickly creates a script. They'll say this, I'll say that. It will go this way. Just notice that happening. You don't have to fight the expectation or make it disappear. Just see it for what it is, the mind's habit of trying to predict and control. And then, consciously soften your grip on that script. Maybe it will go that way. Maybe it won't. Either way, I'm here to meet what actually happens. This softening, this releasing, this opening to what is, it might feel vulnerable at first. Like you're going into the day without armor, without your usual defensive preparations. But actually, you're doing the opposite. You're becoming more resilient, not less. Rigid things break under pressure. Flexible things adapt and survive. The Buddha's third noble truth, and we'll touch on this more deeply later, is that there is an end to suffering. Not an end to difficult circumstances, but an end to the suffering we create through our relationship with circumstances. That end begins here, in this morning practice of releasing expectations, of noticing how you cling to how things should be and practicing, gently letting that clinging soften. Some days you'll manage this with grace. Other days you'll find yourself deeply attached to expectations, frustrated when they're not met, unable to release your grip. Both are part of the practice. On the days when you can't release, when expectations have you in their grip, Just notice that too. Ah, today I'm holding very tightly. Today the bamboo in me is feeling more like rigid tree. That awareness itself is valuable. Tomorrow morning, you begin again. Fresh canvas. New opportunity to practice holding your day with open hands. And as you lie there, having set your intention with strong roots and released your tight grip on expectations about how today must unfold, you've created something precious. Space. Inner spaciousness. Your mind is less cluttered with scripts and predictions. Your heart is less defended against disappointment. You're available to what's actually here, not just what you hoped would be here. This spaciousness, this availability, this presence, it's the perfect condition for what comes next. Because now, with gratitude in your heart, breath anchoring you to this moment, intention providing direction, and expectations held lightly, you're ready to simply be still. To sit with yourself without agenda. To meet your own consciousness without trying to fix or change or improve anything. To discover what meditation really offers. Not transcendence, not escape, but profound intimacy with what is. You've created something rare in these first minutes of morning. Gratitude has softened your heart. Breath has anchored you to this present moment. You've set an intention and released your tight grip on expectations. There's a spaciousness in you now that wasn't there when you first opened your eyes. This is the perfect condition for just sitting. Just being still with yourself for a few minutes before the day's momentum takes you. Maybe resistance immediately arises when you hear the word meditation. I can't meditate. My mind is too busy. Thoughts never stop. Let me speak to you as a friend here. Everyone's mind is busy. Every single person who has ever meditated has a busy mind. That's not the problem. The belief that meditation means stopping thoughts, that's what prevents meditation. Meditation isn't about achieving some special state where thoughts disappear. It's about changing your relationship with thoughts. Learning to observe them without being completely controlled by them. Or maybe your resistance sounds different. I don't have time. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking you to consider. 5 minutes that could change the quality of your entire day. So let's begin together. Find a comfortable way to sit. If you're still in bed, sit up against your headboard. If you prefer, move to a chair. What matters is the sitting itself, not where or how perfectly you do it. Your spine should be gently upright, not rigid, just naturally erect. Think of your spine as a mountain, grounded at the base, rising with dignity, stable but not stiff. Why does posture matter? Because your body communicates with your mind. When you sit upright with gentle alertness, your mind receives the message. We're awake, we're present, we're available to this moment. Let your hands rest comfortably in your lap or on your thighs. Find what feels natural. Now your eyes. Close them completely or keep them slightly open with a soft downward gaze. Either way is fine. We're going to bring attention to the breath again, but differently this time. Earlier, you took 3 conscious breaths. Now, you're going to sustain your attention on breathing for several minutes. Just notice your breath as it naturally occurs. You don't need to control it or make it special. Let your body breathe however it wants to breathe, and you simply observe. Feel the sensation of air at your nostrils, or notice the rising and falling of your chest, or pay attention to your belly expanding and contracting. Choose one location and let that be your anchor point. The Buddha discovered enlightenment through meditation, but his path to that discovery is worth knowing. He tried everything else first: extreme asceticism, intense study, pushing his body and mind to their limits. None of it worked. Finally, exhausted from all his striving, he simply sat down under a tree. He made a promise: "I will sit here until I understand." And he Saturday. And in that sitting, without force or striving, clarity came. You're not trying to become enlightened in your 5 minutes of morning meditation, but you're doing what the Buddha did: sitting down, being present, allowing yourself to simply be without agenda. Here's an image that might help. You are like the sky, vast, spacious, always present. Thoughts are like clouds passing through that sky. Some clouds are dark and heavy: worries, fears, difficult memories. Some are light and wispy: pleasant daydreams, plans, fantasies. All day long, clouds pass through the sky of your awareness. Usually, you identify completely with the clouds. A dark thought cloud appears, and you think, "I am anxious." You mistake the temporary weather patterns for who you are. But in meditation, you start recognizing something profound. You are not the clouds. You are the sky through which clouds pass. The sky is never damaged by clouds. It remains itself, spacious, vast, unchanged. You're not trying to have a clear sky with no clouds. Thoughts will come, just like clouds will appear. You're learning to recognize yourself as the sky, not the clouds. So as you sit here, breath as your anchor, thoughts will arise. This is guaranteed. This is normal. This is not a problem. Maybe a thought appears: "I need to send that email this morning." You notice the thought. You don't judge yourself for having it. You don't grab onto it and start planning. You just see it. "Oh, there's a thought about email," and gently return your attention to your breath. That's it. That's the entire practice. Notice thought. Return to breath. Another thought arises. Am I doing this right? Notice that thought. Smile inwardly if you want. That's such a common meditation thought. Then return to breath. Another thought. This is boring. Nothing is happening. Notice that thought too. It's just another cloud passing through. Return to breath. The practice is not having no thoughts. The practice is this gentle, patient returning, again and again. Sometimes you'll get completely lost in a thought. You'll follow it down a rabbit hole, and suddenly you realize, oh, I've been lost in thought for the last 2 minutes. This moment of realization, this is not failure. This is the meditation working. You woke up from the thought dream. You recognized you'd been lost. That recognition itself is awareness. That's what you're cultivating. So, you don't scold yourself or feel disappointed. You just gently return to your breath and you continue. There's a teaching from the Zen tradition that captures this beautifully. A student asked his teacher, "I sit for 20 minutes, but my mind never stops racing. Am I wasting my time?" The teacher replied, "If you sit for 20 minutes and your mind races for 19, but for 1 minute, even 1 moment, you experience pure presence, that's enough. That's everything." You're not trying to achieve 20 minutes of perfect meditation. You're cultivating moments of presence, of awareness. Those moments accumulate. They grow. They change you. What you're doing here is training your attention like you'd train a muscle. Your attention doesn't get stronger when it stays perfectly focused. It gets stronger each time it wanders, and you bring it back. Every return is a repetition, a strengthening. Every moment of noticing I was lost in thought is a moment of awakening. You're also becoming familiar with your mind in a new way. Instead of being completely identified with every thought and emotion, you're learning to observe the patterns. You start recognizing, oh, this is my anxious thinking pattern. It feels overwhelming, but it's just a pattern, and it will pass. This familiarity with your own mind is invaluable. You're becoming intimate with how it works, learning to observe without being swept away. Later today, when something stressful happens, you'll have this reference point. You'll remember, oh, I can observe this feeling like I observed thoughts in meditation. I don't have to be completely identified with this stress. That space between experience and reaction, that's where freedom lives. That's where choice becomes possible. The Buddha called meditation practice bhavana, which means cultivation or development. You're cultivating awareness the way a gardener cultivates soil, patiently, consistently, with care. A gardener doesn't plant a seed and then dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. They water it. They trust the process. Some days they see no visible progress, but underground, roots are developing. Your meditation practice is like that. Some sessions will feel profound. Other sessions will feel like you're just sitting there restless and distracted. Both are valuable. Both are practice. You're cultivating something that grows beneath the surface. 5 minutes might feel impossibly long when you first start. Your body might be restless. Your mind might be screaming at you about everything you should be doing instead. That's okay. Start with 2 minutes. If 5 feels like too much, start with 1 minute. Start with 30 seconds of true presence. What matters is not the duration, but the sincerity of your practice. Over time, those minutes will naturally extend, not because you're forcing yourself, but because something in you recognizes the value of this stillness. But we're not there yet. Right now, you're just beginning. And beginning means starting exactly where you are. As you sit here, eventually you'll sense it's time to end. Don't rush that ending. Take one more conscious breath, a little deeper than the others. Feel gratitude for these few minutes you gave yourself. Then, slowly, gently, open your eyes if they were closed. Notice how the room looks. Notice the quality of light, the objects around you. Don't immediately jump up and rush into your day. When you rise from meditation, you carry something with you. Not a special state that will quickly fade, but a quality of presence. You've reminded yourself that you are not just a doing machine, not just a problem solver. You are also awareness itself. You are the space in which experience occurs. Throughout your day, you might find little moments where you naturally drop into that meditative quality again. Waiting for coffee to brew, you notice you're just standing there, present. Driving, you find yourself aware of hands on steering wheel, rather than lost in thought. These moments arise because you establish this pattern of presence in your morning practice. Tomorrow morning you'll sit again, maybe for the same duration, maybe shorter, maybe longer. What matters is the return, the consistency, the patient cultivation of awareness. Some wisdom traditions teach that the most important moment of meditation is the moment you sit down. Everything else follows from that decision to show up for yourself. So tomorrow, you'll make that decision again, and the next day, and slowly, imperceptibly at first, something in you will shift. The clouds will still come, worries, plans, memories, all of it. But you'll remember more and more often that you are the sky. And from that remembering, something beautiful emerges. Your heart naturally opens. Compassion arises not as something you have to force, but as your natural response to life. Which brings us to the next practice, the one that flows most naturally from meditation's opening of your heart. A practice of directing goodwill, of wishing peace not just for yourself, but for all beings. From the stillness of meditation, something naturally wants to emerge. Your heart, having sat quietly with itself, becomes tender, open, available. This is the perfect moment for a practice that might seem unusual at first, but holds profound power. What if your first conscious act each day was wishing peace? Not just for yourself, but for all beings, those you love, those you don't know, even those who've hurt you. In Buddhist tradition, this is called metta, loving kindness. And before you dismiss it as sentimental or naive, let me tell you what it actually is. Metta isn't about feeling warm and fuzzy toward everyone. It's not forced positivity or pretending you don't have real conflicts with people. It's something deeper and more revolutionary than that. It's the practice of wishing well-being unconditionally, without needing people to deserve it first, without waiting for them to earn your goodwill. Just offering it because an open heart is its own reward. This is hard for us. We've been trained since childhood that love must be earned, that kindness must be deserved. Be good, and you'll receive affection. Behave correctly, and you'll be worthy of care. The message sinks deep. You must do something to merit kindness. Metta says, no. Goodwill doesn't need reasons. It's the natural state of an open heart. Not something you extend after people prove themselves worthy, but something you offer because that's who you choose to be. So let's practice this together. You're sitting quietly, perhaps still in your meditation posture, or you've adjusted slightly. Place your hand on your heart if you want. That physical connection to yourself can help. We begin, surprisingly, with yourself. This is often the hardest part. Many people find it easier to wish peace for others than for themselves. We're so accustomed to self-criticism, to seeing our flaws, to feeling we don't quite measure up. Directing genuine loving kindness toward ourselves feels awkward, even wrong. But start here anyway. Repeat these phrases silently. Hand on heart. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Notice what happens as you say these words. Maybe nothing. They feel empty, mechanical, like you're just reciting. Maybe resistance arises, a voice saying, I don't deserve this, or this is selfish. Maybe emotion wells up unexpectedly, realizing how rarely you speak to yourself with kindness. Whatever arises is okay. You're not affirming what's already true. You're not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. You're cultivating what's possible. Think of it like watering a seed before it sprouts. You don't see the plant yet, but you water the soil anyway, trusting that something is growing beneath the surface. These phrases are water for the seed of self-compassion. Say them again. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Even if you don't believe them yet, even if they feel foreign in your mouth, the practice is in the offering. You're training your mind to consider the possibility that you deserve kindness without having to earn it first. Now, think of someone you love, someone easy to love, a child, a dear friend, a partner, someone whose well-being you genuinely care about. See their face in your mind. Remember what it feels like to be with them. And offer them the same phrases. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. This probably feels more natural. Your heart knows how to wish good things for people you love. Feel these words. Don't just recite them. Let genuine care infuse them. Picture them receiving this blessing somehow, even though they don't know you're offering it. Imagine peace settling over them, whatever struggles they're carrying, becoming a little lighter. Now we expand the circle. Think of someone neutral, a person you encountered recently, but don't really know. Maybe the clerk at the store yesterday. Maybe someone you passed on the street. Maybe a neighbor you waved to, but have never spoken with. This person has a complete life you know nothing about. They have struggles you'll never see, joys you'll never witness, fears and hopes and history that's entirely their own. They wake each morning like you do, facing their day, carrying their burden. Offer them peace. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Notice any resistance here. Why should I waste energy on a stranger? Just notice that thought and continue anyway. You're expanding your capacity for goodwill beyond the small circle of people you know. The Buddha taught about 4 qualities called the Brahmaviharas, divine abodes, or states where the heart can dwell. Metta is the first, loving, kindness, this unconditional goodwill we're practicing. The others are karuna, compassion for those who suffer, mudita, appreciative joy in others' happiness, and upekkha, equanimity, the ability to remain balanced when you can't fix everything. All 4 are forms of love, but love without attachment, without needing anything in return. Right now, we're cultivating metta, and we're about to approach the most challenging part. When you feel ready, and only when you feel ready, think of someone difficult. Not the most difficult person in your life, not someone who traumatized you or caused deep harm. Start smaller. Someone who irritates you, who rubs you the wrong way, who you find yourself resenting or judging. This practice isn't about them. It's about you. It's about releasing the poison you carry. There's an old Buddhist teaching. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal, intending to throw it at someone else. You're the one getting burned. The coal sits in your palm, searing your skin. while the person you're angry at goes about their day unaware. Wishing peace for someone who hurt you isn't condoning what they did. It isn't saying their behavior was okay. It's deciding you don't want to carry the coal anymore. So, if you're ready, picture this difficult person. Take a breath and say, "May you be peaceful. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease." You might only be able to say it once before resistance floods in. That's fine. You might feel nothing at all, just mechanically repeating words. That's fine too. You might surprise yourself by feeling genuine wish for their well-being. Whatever you feel, you've done something powerful. You've loosened the grip of resentment just slightly. And that small loosening creates space for your own peace. Finally, expand your awareness to all beings everywhere. People in your city, your country, across the world. People you'll never meet. Living lives you can't imagine. People struggling right now. People celebrating. People just trying to get through the day, like you. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease. Feel how this opens something in your chest. Not sentimentality, but genuine recognition. We're all in this together, all trying to be happy, all trying to avoid suffering. What changes through this practice isn't that people suddenly become kinder to you. The difficult person doesn't transform overnight. The world doesn't rearrange itself to match your wishes. What changes is you stop meeting the world with a closed, defended heart. You stop approaching each encounter from a place of suspicion or judgment. You walk through your day differently, softer, more open, less armored. The Metta Sutta, one of the Buddha's teachings on loving kindness, offers a beautiful image. He said we should cultivate boundless love toward all beings, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life. Unconditional, fierce, unshakable. This is the possibility within you, not weakness or naivety, but the fierce tenderness of a heart that refuses to close. After practicing metta each morning, you might notice subtle shifts throughout your day. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of immediate rage, there's a moment of space. They must be rushing somewhere, worried about something. Not excusing rudeness, but not taking it as personal attack either. A co-worker snaps at you, and instead of snapping back, you pause. What suffering makes them act this way? You respond with patience you didn't know you had. These aren't dramatic transformations. They're small moments where you meet life differently because your heart has been practicing openness each morning. Some days, metta practice will feel real and powerful. Your heart will swell with genuine warmth as you recite the phrases. You'll feel connected to all beings, touched by the shared human experience. Other days, the words will feel empty. You'll recite them mechanically, feeling nothing, maybe even annoyed you're bothering with this. Practice anyway. The cultivation happens beneath the surface of immediate feeling, like your meditation practice, like your gratitude practice. This is about consistent tending, not perfect performance. You're training your heart the way you train any capacity, through repetition, through showing up even when it feels pointless, through trusting the process more than the immediate result. Over weeks and months of morning metta practice, you'll notice you've become someone slightly different. Not perfect, not constantly radiating love, but quicker to understand than to judge, slower to harden your heart, more willing to stay open even when it's uncomfortable. There's another benefit to this practice that's worth naming. When you regularly wish well-being for yourself, you start believing you deserve it. When you regularly wish peace for others, you stop making their worthiness contingent on their behavior. You become less judgmental overall, including toward yourself. This doesn't mean you lose all discernment or boundaries. You can wish someone peace while still choosing not to be in relationship with them. You can offer goodwill while still holding people accountable. Metta isn't about being a doormat. It's about not carrying poison. As you finish your metta practice each morning, take a moment to notice how you feel. Not to judge the feeling, just to notice. Maybe there's warmth in your chest. Maybe there's resistance still. Maybe there's simply quietness. Whatever's there, you've done something countercultural and profound. In a world that constantly tells us to protect ourselves, to guard our hearts, to only give when we're guaranteed return, you've practiced unconditional goodwill. You've chosen to be a person who wishes peace rather than harm, understanding rather than judgment, openness rather than closure. Not because people deserve it, but because that's who you want to be. This opening of the heart, this practice of metta, prepares you for what comes next. Because with an open heart, you can see more clearly. You can observe the movements of your own mind without being so identified with them. You can watch thoughts arise and pass without being swept away by each one. Having cultivated loving kindness, having softened your heart toward yourself and others, you're ready to turn your attention to the nature of thought itself. To observe the mind's theater without getting lost in the show. Six teachings explored together, and maybe you're noticing something. These aren't separate practices existing in isolation. They're one practice with many faces. Gratitude opens your heart. Breath anchors you to this moment. Intention guides your inner direction. Releasing expectations frees you from rigid demands. Meditation stills the constant movement and noise. Loving kindness expands your capacity for goodwill. But they're all pointing to the same place, the same truth. The Buddha didn't teach hundreds of different paths leading to different destinations. He taught one path with infinite expressions. All these morning practices are saying the same thing in different languages. Peace is available right now, in this moment, in this body, in this breath. You don't need to master all 6 to benefit from them. Even one practice, done with sincerity and consistency, transforms everything. Depth over breadth. Better to water one seed fully, tending it with care each morning, than to scatter water thinly across barren ground where nothing can take root. If you've been listening this far, that itself matters. You're still here. You haven't rushed off to begin your day, or turned to the 1,000 other things competing for your attention. That choice to stay present, to keep listening, to remain open, that's already practice. The remaining 4 teachings will deepen what's already begun in you. They're about seeing clearly, moving consciously, finding the sacred hidden in ordinary moments. They're about living an awakened life, not just thinking about awakening. If you need to stretch right now, stretch. If you want to adjust your position, make yourself more comfortable, do that. Or simply stay exactly as you are. We continue together. Let's take one conscious breath before moving forward. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just one breath with full attention. Inhaling, exhaling. Thank you for that, for being here, for giving yourself this time. What comes next is subtle but profound. We've been working with breath, with heart, with intention. Now we turn our attention to something we rarely examine directly, the nature of thought itself. Not just having thoughts, but observing them, watching how they arise, how they shape your experience, how they can either trap you or set you free, depending on your relationship with them. This is where Buddhist practice gets deeply liberating, because when you truly understand the nature of your own thoughts, when you see them clearly for what they are, something fundamental shifts. You discover a freedom you didn't know was possible. You wake, and even before your body moves, the movie begins. Thoughts appear like uninvited guests entering through a door you didn't know was open. Planning what you need to do today, worrying about what might go wrong, remembering something from yesterday that still bothers you, imagining conversations that haven't happened yet. All of this happens automatically, without your permission, often before you're even fully conscious. And usually, you believe every single one of these thoughts. You take them as truth, as reality, as accurate descriptions of your life and yourself. But here's a Buddhist insight that changes everything once you really see it. You are not your thoughts. This sounds simple, maybe even obvious when you first hear it, but it's actually revolutionary. Most of us live our entire lives completely identified with our thinking, never questioning whether these thoughts are true, never examining where they come from, never recognizing we have any choice about them. You're not your thoughts. You're the awareness in which thoughts appear. Like the sky and clouds we talked about in meditation, you're the vast, spacious sky, and thoughts are weather patterns passing through. Like the ocean and waves, you're the deep, still ocean, and thoughts are waves moving across the surface. This distinction isn't just philosophical, it's intensely practical and immediately applicable to your real morning, your real life. Maybe your first thought upon waking this morning was, "I'm tired." You probably took that as simple truth. I'm tired. Fact. Done. That's how I am. But is it? Or is it a thought about tiredness appearing in your awareness? The difference seems subtle, but the implications are profound. When you believe, "I am tired," you become that tiredness completely. It defines you. It limits what seems possible. You move through your morning as a tired person, and that identity shapes everything. When you recognize there's a thought about tiredness, suddenly there's space. You're not denying the physical sensation of tiredness, but you're not completely identified with it either. You're the awareness noticing both the tiredness and the thought about it. That space, that small gap between experience and identification with experience, is where freedom lives. So the practice this morning, and every morning, is simple but profound. Before you engage with your thoughts, before you start believing and following them, just notice. What thoughts are here right now? Not to change them, not to fight with them, not to make them go away, just to observe them the way a naturalist might observe birds, with curiosity, without judgment, simply noting what's present. You might silently label them as they arise. Planning, worrying, judging, remembering. Not to stop them. You can't stop thoughts from arising any more than you can stop clouds from forming, but to recognize them as thoughts rather than reality. This recognition changes everything. When you see a thought as a thought, it loses some of its power over you. A thought appears, "This day is going to be terrible." Usually, if you believe that thought, you unconsciously start making it true. Your body tenses in anticipation of difficulty. You approach interactions with defensiveness. You look for evidence that confirms the prediction. And by evening, the day has indeed been terrible, not because it had to be, but because you oriented yourself around that initial thought. But if you observe the thought, "Oh, there's a prediction that today will be terrible," something shifts. You haven't believed it or rejected it. You've simply seen it as what it is, a mental event, a pattern of neurons firing, an interpretation, not a fact. Now you have choice. The thought might still be there, but you're not enslaved to it. You can act from awareness rather than from automatic belief in every thought that crosses your mind. In Buddhist practice, this is called vipassana, insight meditation, or clear seeing. What you're seeing clearly is the nature of mind itself. Thoughts don't arise randomly or magically. They arise based on conditions, your past experiences, your current fears and hopes, your conditioning from childhood, what happened yesterday, what you anticipate for today. They're products of causes and conditions, not objective truths about reality. Understanding this frees you from taking every thought so seriously. Yes, thoughts can contain useful information. Yes, thinking is a valuable tool. But thoughts are not infallible truth tellers, and recognizing that gives you back your power. There's a useful metaphor here. Imagine a river with a strong current. You can jump into that river and be swept away, tumbled by the current, carried wherever the water goes. Or you can sit on the riverbank and watch the current flow past you. Most of us spend our lives in the river of thought, swept along by every mental current, believing we have no choice but to go wherever our thinking takes us. This practice teaches you to sit on the bank. The river of thought still flows. It never stops, but you're not in it anymore. You're watching it flow. You can see where it's going without being dragged along. This doesn't mean you never think. That's a misunderstanding of this practice. Thinking is useful, often necessary. Planning your day requires thought. Solving problems requires thought. Creating anything requires thought. But there's a difference between using thoughts as tools and being used by them. There's a difference between conscious thinking and being unconsciously driven by every thought that arises. When you practice observation, you develop the capacity to think when thinking is useful and to not be thinking when it isn't. You can pick up the tool of thought when you need it, then put it down when you're done. Right now, most of us can't put the tool down. Thinking continues compulsively, even when it's not serving us, churning through the same worries and plans over and over, exhausting us with its constant motion. The Zen master, Shunryu Suzuki, offered beautiful guidance about this. He said, "Leave your front door and your back door open. Let thoughts come and go. Just don't serve them tea." What an image. Thoughts are like visitors passing through your house. You don't need to lock the doors to keep them out. That's impossible and creates more struggle. But you also don't need to invite them to sit down, offer them tea, have a long conversation with each one. Let them pass through. Oh, there's an anxious thought. Hello, goodbye. There's a planning thought. I see you, you can go now. Doors open, thoughts flowing through, you watching from your seat in awareness. Throughout your day, you'll forget this practice. You'll get completely caught in thought storms, swept away by worry or planning or judgment, completely identified with the mental weather. Then suddenly, you'll remember. Maybe you're in the middle of anxious spiraling about something, and awareness flickers. Oh, I'm lost in thoughts. These are just thoughts, not reality. That moment of remembering is profound liberation. You don't have to have remembered sooner. You don't have to be angry with yourself for getting lost. Just that moment of waking up from the thought dream is enough. And the more you practice observing thoughts each morning, the more frequently these moments of remembering arise throughout your day. It's like you're strengthening a muscle of awareness that can interrupt the automatic identification with thinking. The Buddha taught about this in the Dhammapada. He said, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts." This can sound deterministic, like we're prisoners of our thinking, but there's another layer to understand. We're also the awareness that can watch thoughts arise. If we are what we think, and we can observe our thoughts, then we can have some say in what we cultivate in mind. We can't control what thoughts arise. They emerge from deep conditioning. But we can choose which ones we engage with, which ones we water and feed, which ones we let pass through without serving tea. This is different from positive thinking or thought suppression. You're not trying to force yourself to think only happy thoughts. You're not pushing away negative thoughts. You're simply learning to recognize all thoughts as thoughts, mental events, not absolute truths about you or your life. Difficult thoughts can arise: self-criticism, anxiety, despair, and instead of believing them completely or fighting them desperately, you can meet them with awareness. There's a self-critical thought. It feels painful, but it's a thought, not an objective assessment of my worth. That space of awareness doesn't make the thought pleasant, but it prevents you from drowning in it. You're holding it in something larger, the spacious awareness that can contain all thoughts without being defined by any single one. Your mind will wander during this very practice of observing thoughts. You'll try to watch thoughts and immediately get lost in one, following it down a rabbit hole before you realize what happened. This is not failure. Noticing you've wandered is the awakening. That moment of recognition, "Oh, I was lost, and now I'm aware again." That's the practice working. Every time you notice and return, you're strengthening awareness. Think of it like training a puppy. The puppy wanders off constantly. You don't beat the puppy or shame it for wandering. You just gently bring it back, again and again, patiently. Eventually, through repetition and kindness, the puppy learns to stay. Your attention is like that puppy. It will wander into thought constantly. You gently bring it back to observation, to awareness, to watching, rather than being swept away. Over time, attention becomes more stable, less easily captured by every passing thought. As you lie there tomorrow morning or sit in your morning quiet, you can practice this observation. What thoughts are present? Can you watch them arise without immediately believing them or following them? Can you create even a tiny bit of space between awareness and thought? This space is sacred in Buddhist practice. In that space, you're not controlled by conditioning. In that space, you can respond wisely rather than react automatically. In that space, freedom becomes possible. And here's something you'll discover over time. As you become more familiar with observing thoughts, you start noticing patterns. You see the same worry loop appearing morning after morning. You recognize your mind's habitual strategies, the ways it tries to protect you through overthinking, the stories it tells to make sense of uncertainty. Seeing these patterns doesn't immediately dissolve them, but it lessens their power. When you recognize, oh, this is my morning anxiety pattern. I've seen this 100 times. The pattern becomes less convincing. It's like watching a movie you've seen so many times you know every scene. You're no longer lost in it. This clear seeing, this observation of the mind's patterns and habits, extends beyond thoughts into everything. You start noticing patterns in how your body holds tension, how your emotions move through you, how you react to others. And sometimes, in moments of grace, you notice something even more subtle. You notice the awareness itself, not the thoughts, not the observer of thoughts, but the quality of being aware, the consciousness in which everything appears. This gets into territory that's hard to describe with words, but you might touch it in your practice. A moment when you're not caught in thought, but also not effortfully watching thoughts, just resting as awareness itself, prior to all the mental content. These moments are brief at first, easy to miss, but they point to something the Buddha discovered. Your true nature isn't the stream of thoughts, it's the awareness in which thoughts appear and disappear. We'll explore that more as we continue, but for now, the practice is simpler. Just notice thoughts. Watch them arise. See them for what they are. Mental events, not absolute truth. Return to this watching whenever you remember. This clear seeing extends naturally into your body and your expressions. Because as you observe the mind's patterns, you start noticing how thought creates tension, how mental states manifest physically. And this brings us to something surprisingly powerful in its simplicity, the gesture of a gentle smile offered to yourself before the day begins. The smallest practice, sometimes the most powerful. Before you even open your eyes fully this morning, before you move your body or speak a word, there's something you can do that takes no time and costs nothing. The corners of your mouth, lifting slightly. Just that. A gentle smile, so subtle it might be invisible to anyone watching. If you've seen statues of the Buddha, you've probably noticed that slight smile on his face. Not a big grin, not forced happiness, just a soft upward curve at the lips. The half smile of someone at peace. This smile isn't for anyone else. It's for you. A gesture you offer to yourself before the day begins making demands. Maybe resistance immediately arises when you hear this. Smile? When I wake up anxious, when I'm dreading the day ahead, when my body hurts or my heart is heavy, you want me to smile. I hear that resistance. And I'm not asking you to pretend everything is okay when it isn't. I'm not suggesting you paste on fake happiness or perform positivity you don't feel. This practice is something more subtle and more genuine than that. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, who we've heard from before, taught extensively about the practice of smiling. He would say something that sounds paradoxical at first. Sometimes your joy creates your smile, but sometimes your smile creates your joy. Think about that for a moment. We usually believe the relationship goes one direction. I feel happy, therefore I smile. Joy causes smile. Simple cause and effect. But Thich Nhat Hanh observed something the Buddha understood. The relationship flows both ways. Body and mind aren't separate entities with a one-way street between them. They interpenetrate. They affect each other constantly. Your mental state shapes your physical posture and expression, and your physical posture and expression shape your mental state. The loop runs in both directions. When you're depressed, your body reflects it. Shoulders slumped, face fallen, movements heavy. When you're joyful, your body reflects that too. Lighter step, open posture, natural smile. Mental state creates physical expression. But it also works the other way. When you deliberately shift your physical state, straightening your spine, softening your face, lifting the corners of your mouth, your mental state responds. Not magically, not instantly making everything better, but creating a subtle shift in the right direction. So the practice is this. Still in bed, or sitting up now, eyes closed, or softly open, allow a slight smile to form on your face. Not a forced grin, not teeth showing, not trying to look happy. Just the gentlest lift at the corners of your mouth, so subtle someone watching might not even notice it. And then pay attention. What happens? Maybe your shoulders drop slightly, releasing tension you didn't know you were holding. Maybe your breath deepens naturally, no longer shallow and tight. Maybe something in your chest softens, a tiny bit of space opening where before there was only constriction. Or maybe nothing happens at all. Maybe the smile feels mechanical, fake, pointless. That's okay too. You're not failing if you don't feel an immediate wave of peace. The practice is the gesture itself, not the feeling it produces. You're doing something countercultural, simply by making this gentle gesture toward yourself. We live in a world that demands seriousness, hardness, constant striving. A world that tells you to be tough, to armor yourself, to meet difficulty with tension and resistance. A world where gentleness toward yourself is seen as weakness or indulgence. This morning smile is a quiet rebellion against all of that. It's tenderness toward yourself, when the world rarely offers tenderness. It's a way of saying, I'm here, I'm alive, and that itself, just being alive, just breathing, just existing, is worthy of a smile. Not because your life is perfect, or your circumstances are ideal, but because you're choosing to meet yourself with kindness rather than criticism, with softness rather than hardness, with openness rather than clenched resistance. There's a famous story from the Buddha's life about the power of a smile. It's called the Flower Sermon, and it goes like this. The Buddha stood before his students holding a flower. He said nothing, just held up this flower and smiled. The students were confused, waiting for teaching, for explanation, for words. One student, Mahakashyapa, looked at the Buddha holding the flower and smiling, and he understood. He smiled back. The Buddha said, I have the treasure of the true teaching, the marvelous mind of nirvana, the true form which is formlessness, and the ineffable teaching. I have transmitted it to Mahakashyapa. What was transmitted? Not information, not philosophy, not technique. Something wordless, the recognition of peace, presence, the simple fact of being here now without needing anything to be different. Your morning smile to yourself is this same transmission. You're not smiling because you've achieved something or because circumstances are favorable. You're smiling as recognition. I'm here. Life is here. This moment is here. And that's enough. This isn't about forcing happiness or denying difficulty. You can smile gently while also acknowledging that you're tired, that you're worried, that life is hard right now. The smile isn't saying, everything is fine. It's saying, I'm choosing to meet this moment, whatever it contains, with some measure of gentleness and openness rather than pure resistance. You're not forcing happiness. You're inviting openness. When your face is tight and closed, that reflects and reinforces a tight, closed mind and heart. When you soften your face, when you allow that gentle smile, you're creating a tiny opening, not fixing everything, just allowing a crack of light into the defended places. Imagine meeting someone difficult later today, someone who typically triggers your stress or frustration. You can meet them with your habitual tension, jaw clenched, face hard, already defended before they've even spoken. Or you can meet them with this inner smile still alive in you. Not a smile at them necessarily, but a quality of gentleness you've been cultivating since morning. The encounter will be entirely different, not because they've changed, but because you're meeting them from a different place inside yourself. There's a teaching in Buddhism from the Heart Sutra that says, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. This sounds mystical and abstract, but it points to something practical. Body and mind, form and consciousness, aren't separate things. They're two aspects of one reality, constantly interpenetrating, constantly affecting each other. Change the body, and you change the mind. Change the mind, and you change the body. This isn't manipulation or trickery. It's understanding how you actually work. Your smile, even if it feels mechanical at first, sends signals through your nervous system. Facial muscles connect to neural pathways associated with positive emotion. The act of smiling, even slightly, even without feeling happy, creates conditions for a shift in your inner state. You're not lying to yourself. You're working with the body-mind connection intelligently, using form to affect consciousness, using gesture to invite possibility. Some mornings, the smile will come easily and feel genuine. You'll wake with some natural ease, and forming that gentle smile feels like a simple extension of how you already feel. Those mornings are lovely. Other mornings, the smile won't come at all. You wake in genuine pain, physical, emotional, or both. You wake to devastating news, or overwhelming grief, or fear that won't release its grip. On those mornings, don't force the smile. This practice is invitation, never demand. Never another thing to fail at. Never another way to judge yourself as not doing it right. Maybe instead of a smile, you just soften the tension in your jaw. Maybe you let your face relax instead of clenching it. Maybe you place your hand gently on your cheek as you would touch someone you care about. These are all forms of the same practice, meeting yourself with tenderness instead of harshness, with softness instead of rigid demand, finding whatever gesture of kindness is available to you in this particular morning. This smile, this gentle gesture, is like putting a hand on your own shoulder, the way you'd comfort a dear friend. It's the care you'd naturally offer someone else, now directed toward yourself. Most of us are so much harsher with ourselves than we'd ever be with someone we love. We wake up already criticizing ourselves. Didn't sleep enough. Shouldn't feel this way. Need to do better. Be better. The inner voice is sharp and demanding before we've even left the bed. The morning smile interrupts that pattern. It's a gesture of friendship toward yourself. A way of saying, I see you, I'm with you, we're in this together, to your own being. Over time, this small practice accumulates. You start your day meeting yourself with gentleness rather than criticism, hundreds of mornings in a row. That changes something fundamental in your relationship with yourself. You become someone who treats yourself with the same care you'd offer a person you love. Not perfectly, not every moment, but more consistently, more naturally. The default setting shifts from harsh judgment toward kind acknowledgement. And this shift in how you meet yourself changes how you meet everything else. When you walk through your day, having begun with that gesture of self-kindness, having literally formed your face into a shape of gentleness, you carry that with you. Not as a permanent state. You'll still get frustrated, worried, tense throughout the day, but you'll have this reference point to return to. That moment of morning gentleness, available to be remembered when you most need it. So tomorrow morning and the morning after, as you lie there, having practiced gratitude and breath and intention, having released expectations and sat in meditation and extended loving kindness and observed your thoughts, add this simple gesture. Let your face form a gentle smile. Feel what happens in your body when you do. Notice the quality of mind that accompanies this softest of expressions. You're not pretending to be happy. You're not performing for anyone. You're simply choosing to begin your day by meeting yourself with the gentleness you deserve, offering yourself the same tender regard you'd offer any being you care about. And with this gentle smile still alive in you, even if just as a memory of possibility, you step into your morning with different energy. Not transformed into someone else, not suddenly fixed or perfected, but carrying a quality of softness, a willingness to meet life with some measure of openness. This prepares you for what comes next in your day, the ordinary moments you usually rush through, the simple things you typically overlook. Because when you begin with gentleness toward yourself, you naturally become more available to notice the quiet beauty that's always been here, waiting for your attention. First sip of water after a night's sleep. If you've ever paid attention to it, really felt it, there's something remarkable about that simple act. The water touches your lips, cool and clear. You feel it travel down your throat. Feel your body receiving it after hours without hydration. Simple, utterly ordinary, something you've done thousands of times. And yet, if you're actually paying attention, there's something almost sacred about it. We rush past these moments constantly. We're drinking water, but thinking about the meeting later, the email we need to send, the problem we need to solve. We're always racing toward the next thing, the important thing, the thing that really matters. But Zen Buddhism asks a question that stops us in our tracks. What's more important than this sip of water? What's more important than this breath moving through you right now? What's more important than this step you're taking? We've been conditioned to believe that important things are always somewhere else, in the future, requiring effort and achievement to reach. But what if the most important thing is simply being present for what's actually here? There's a famous Zen teaching that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Think about that. Same actions, same ordinary tasks, same daily routine. The wood still needs chopping. The water still needs carrying. Nothing in the external world changes. But everything changes because the person chopping wood and carrying water is different. Not in what they do, but in how they're present while doing it. They're no longer sleepwalking through these moments, no longer treating them as obstacles between here and somewhere better. They've discovered that life doesn't happen later, after you finish all the mundane tasks. Life is happening in the chopping, in the carrying, in the drinking, in the breathing. So this morning, as you move through your routine, try this. Look at the light coming through your window, not a glance, but actually seeing it. Notice the quality of morning light, how it's softer than afternoon light, how it has a different color, a different feel. See how it creates shadows in the room, how it touches objects, how it changes the appearance of everything it falls upon. You've looked out this window hundreds of times, maybe thousands. But have you ever really seen this particular morning light? This exact quality of illumination that exists only now and will be different in an hour, different tomorrow, never quite this way again. Buddhist practice points to something we constantly miss. We spend our entire lives seeking extraordinary experiences, the perfect vacation, the peak moment, the special event that will finally make us feel alive. Meanwhile, we're missing the extraordinary nature of the ordinary. It's like being desperately thirsty while standing in the rain. Water is falling all around you, touching your skin, but you don't notice because you're so focused on finding water somewhere else, somewhere special. Your real morning is filled with these moments, if you're available to them. The sound of birds outside your window, or maybe it's traffic, or maybe it's silence. Usually this is just background noise, something you filter out while focusing on your thoughts. But what if you really listened? Not labeling it as pleasant birdsong, or annoying traffic, or peaceful silence. Just hearing. Pure sound arising, existing in the air, then fading. When you listen this way, without the constant mental commentary, something shifts. Sound becomes vivid, alive, immediate. You're not thinking about sound, you're experiencing it directly. This is what Zen calls Shoshin, beginner's mind. The mind that sees everything as if for the first time, fresh and new, not filtered through all your accumulated opinions and judgments. Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, a Zen master who brought this practice to the West, said something beautiful about this. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. When you think you know something completely, when you've categorized and understood and filed it away, you stop really seeing it. The expert mind says, "Oh, I know what that is," and moves on. Nothing new to discover here. But beginner's mind stays curious, stays open. Yes, you've drunk water thousands of times before. But have you drunk this water in this body, in this moment? Have you tasted it with fresh attention, as if it's the first time? Do you remember being a child? Everything was wonder then. A puddle could occupy your attention for 20 minutes. The way light reflected on water was endlessly fascinating. A bug crawling across the sidewalk was worth watching its entire journey. We lose this as we grow up, and we call that loss maturity, sophistication, growing up. But what if we've actually lost something precious? The task isn't to become childish again, to lose all adult capacity for planning and responsibility. It's to recover that quality of attention, that freshness of perception, to see with fresh eyes while maintaining adult wisdom. You might be thinking, I don't have time for this. I can't stand at my window staring at light when I have a job to get to, a life to manage, responsibilities to meet. But here's the thing. You're looking out the window anyway. You're drinking water anyway. You're hearing sounds anyway. The time isn't the issue. The difference is presence or absence. Are you actually here for your own life? Or are you perpetually somewhere else, in your mind? Same time, completely different experience. The Buddha taught about contentment in a way that's relevant here. He said, health is the greatest gift, contentment, the greatest wealth, trust, the greatest relationship. Contentment isn't about having more things, achieving more goals, reaching some future state where you'll finally be satisfied. Contentment is about being fully present with what is, not settling for less than you deserve, not giving up on growth or change, but recognizing that right now, in this moment, drinking this water, breathing this breath, alive in this body, this is not nothing. This is actually everything. When you practice this morning awareness, when you really taste your water, or see your light, or hear your sounds, something begins to shift throughout your entire day. Your tea break at work becomes meditation. Instead of scrolling your phone while mechanically drinking, you're tasting the tea, feeling the warmth of the cup in your hands, noticing the slight bitterness or sweetness on your tongue. Walking to your car becomes practice. You feel your feet contacting the ground. Notice the air temperature on your skin. See the quality of light in this particular moment. Washing your hands becomes ceremony. The feeling of water, the sensation of soap, the movements of your hands, all of it given your full attention, instead of being done while your mind races ahead to the next task. You're not doing these things differently. You're present while you're doing them. That's the only difference. And it's the difference that changes everything. We've automated so much of our lives, going through motions, performing tasks, checking boxes, all while being mentally somewhere else entirely. Then we wonder why life feels empty, why we feel disconnected, why even pleasant experiences feel hollow. But life isn't empty. We're absent. Life is happening with or without our attention. The water is still refreshing your body whether you notice or not. The light is still illuminating your room whether you see it or not. But when you're absent, when you're lost in thought, you miss the actual experience of being alive. You arrive at evening and realize you weren't really present for any of it. The day happened, but you weren't quite there. You were busy planning, worrying, remembering, analyzing, anything but actually being here. This practice of enjoying the simple isn't about making ordinary things special or putting them on a pedestal. It's about recognizing that ordinary is special. Every moment is the only moment of its kind that will ever exist. This sip of water happens once. This quality of morning light appears once. This breath moves through you once. You can have another sip, another morning, another breath, but not this one again. When you really understand that, really feel it, ordinary moments become precious. Not because you're making them special, but because you're recognizing what they actually are. Unique, unrepeatable, fleeting. The Japanese have a concept called mono no aware, a gentle sadness at the impermanence of things, combined with appreciation for their transient beauty. Cherry blossoms are treasured partly because they bloom so briefly. Their beauty is inseparable from their impermanence. Your morning is like that. This particular morning will never come again. You can have other mornings, but not this one. That reality, when you let yourself feel it, makes even the simplest moment worth your full attention. You'll forget this practice constantly. That's not a problem. It's reality. You'll rush through your morning, automate your movements, arrive at work without remembering the drive. And then, maybe at lunchtime, maybe in the afternoon, you'll take a bite of food and suddenly taste it. Really taste it. All the flavors distinct and present, the texture, the temperature, the experience of eating suddenly vivid and immediate. That moment of remembering, of waking up to the present, that's grace. You don't have to be hard on yourself for all the moments you missed. Just notice this moment of presence, be grateful for it, and continue. The practice isn't maintaining perfect awareness every second. It's repeatedly returning to presence, repeatedly remembering that life is here now, not somewhere else later. Each morning when you practice this, really tasting your water, really seeing your light, really hearing your sounds, you're strengthening something in yourself. Not through force or discipline, but through gentle repetition. You're training your attention to recognize and appreciate what's actually here, instead of constantly searching for something better somewhere else. Over time, this becomes more natural, less effortful. Presence becomes your default, rather than something you have to work hard to achieve. But even after years of practice, you'll still forget, sometimes. Still sleepwalk through moments. Still get lost in thought. Still miss the simple beauty of what's right in front of you. That's part of being human. The practice is just returning, again and again, with patience and without judgment. Each return is valuable. Each moment of presence is complete in itself. This quality of attention you're cultivating with simple things, the water, the light, the sounds, naturally extends into how you move through space. When you're really tasting your water, you're present in your body, and that embodied presence wants to extend into movement, into the sensation of actually inhabiting your body as it moves through the world. Walking, which you do countless times each day, becomes an opportunity for this same practice. Not walking to get somewhere, but walking as a way of being present, of feeling your body in motion, of experiencing each step fully. This is where all these practices converge: gratitude, breath, intention, release, stillness, loving kindness, observation, gentleness, and now presence with simple things. They all lead to the same place, here, now, fully alive in this moment, in this body, taking this step. The first steps of your day. Usually, you take them without a second thought. Feet hit the floor, body moves from bed to bathroom, completely automatic, mind already racing ahead to what needs to happen today. But what if these steps were sacred? What if the very first movements of your body could be a practice, a meditation, a way of honoring the gift of being alive and able to move? Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master whose wisdom we've encountered throughout these teachings, offered an instruction so beautiful it stops you in your tracks. He said, "Walk as if you are kissing the earth with your feet." Just let that image settle in you for a moment. Walking not as transportation, not as getting from here to there, but as a gesture of love, of tenderness, of gratitude for the ground that holds you. What would it feel like to walk that way? To place each foot down gently, consciously, as if the earth itself were precious? The practice is simpler than it might sound. Upon rising from bed this morning, before you rush to the bathroom or kitchen, before your mind fully engages with the day's demands, walk slowly. Just slowly. Not rushing toward a destination, but being present with the movement itself. Feel your foot meet the floor. Notice how it happens. Heel first, then the ball of your foot, then your toes. Feel the weight shifting from one foot to the other. Notice the balance required, this complex coordination of muscles and bones and nervous system that you completely take for granted. Every step is actually a small miracle. Your body knows exactly how to distribute weight, how to maintain balance, how to coordinate hundreds of muscles without any conscious direction from you. You've been walking for so long that you've forgotten how remarkable it is. Think about your real morning. Maybe it's only 10 steps from your bed to the bathroom. Usually you take those steps while thinking about your schedule, planning conversations, worrying about deadlines, reviewing yesterday's mistakes. Your body is here, but you're somewhere else entirely. What if, Just for those 10 steps, you were fully present. Not thinking about where you're going, but experiencing the walking itself. You can coordinate your steps with your breath if you want, breathing in as you lift one foot, breathing out as you place it down, or finding your own natural rhythm where breath and movement flow together without force. In Zen Buddhist tradition, this is called kinhin, walking meditation. Monks practice this between periods of sitting meditation, walking slowly and mindfully around the meditation hall. But here's what's important to understand. Kinhin isn't a break from meditation. It's not rest between the real practice of sitting. Walking itself is the practice. Sitting is meditation in stillness. Walking is meditation in motion. Both are complete practices on their own. Both are ways of being fully present, fully alive, fully here. You've walked thousands upon thousands of times in your life. But have you ever really walked? Have you felt the extraordinary complexity of what's happening? The signals from brain to muscles, the balance adjustments happening millisecond by millisecond, the coordination of breath and movement and intention. This is what it means to be alive. Not just moving through space, but being conscious of the movement, experiencing it, feeling it from the inside. As you walk, you might silently say to yourself, "I am here, I am alive." Not as an affirmation you're trying to convince yourself of, but as simple recognition of what is. Here, truly, here, in this body, in this moment, in this step, alive, actually alive, breathing, moving, experiencing. The Buddha himself walked everywhere. In ancient India, teachers traveled from village to village on foot, and the Buddha spent decades walking the dusty roads, mindful of each step. He taught while walking, meditated while walking, lived his awakened life while walking. His students would later say that all of India was covered in the Buddha's mindful steps, not because he walked more than others, but because he walked differently. Each step fully inhabited, fully conscious, fully present. As you practice this walking, you start discovering something profound. The destination isn't separate from the journey. You're not walking to the bathroom. You're just walking. This moment of walking, this step, is complete in itself. It doesn't need to lead anywhere to have value. It's not a means to an end. It simply is. This understanding changes everything. Because if this step is complete in itself, then so is this breath, this moment, this instant of being alive. You stop living in perpetual anticipation of something better later and start experiencing what's actually here now. Later in your day, you'll walk to your car, to meetings, to lunch, to countless destinations. You can bring this same presence to any of those walks. Not always. You'll forget more often than you remember at first. Your mind will be planning, worrying, replaying conversations, and suddenly you'll arrive somewhere without remembering the journey at all. That's normal. That's human. But sometimes you'll remember. Maybe halfway to your car, you'll suddenly become aware that you're walking. Your feet are touching ground. Your body is moving through space. You're alive and in motion. That moment of remembering is everything. You arrive at your destination, but you've also arrived in the present moment. You haven't missed the journey. You were there for it. These 10 teachings we've explored together, do you see how they're all coming together now? How they all meet in this simple act of walking? You walk with gratitude for legs that carry you, for ground that supports you, for this body that moves. You coordinate your steps with breath, anchoring yourself to the present moment with each inhale and exhale. You carry your intention in your walking, moving slowly, moving consciously, moving with care. You walk without rigid expectations about how it should feel or what should happen. You observe thoughts that arise while walking without being pulled away from the physical sensation of movement. You walk with loving kindness, extending goodwill toward yourself and others even as you move. Maybe there's a gentle smile on your face as you walk. Maybe you're tasting the simple pleasure of movement itself, enjoying the ordinary miracle of one foot in front of the other. And all of this happens in the most ordinary action imaginable, walking from one room to another. These morning practices aren't preparation for your life. They are your life. You're not doing gratitude practice so you can then go live your real life later. Gratitude is life. Conscious breathing is life. Mindful walking is life. This is it. Right here, right now. Thich Nhat Hanh said something else worth carrying with you. Life is available only in the present moment. Not mostly available in the present moment. Not sometimes available. Only available. You can remember the past and plan for the future, but you can only actually live right now. And the present moment is available in each step you take. This is the profound ordinariness of Buddhist practice. You're not trying to transcend your ordinary life, to escape into some special spiritual realm. You're fully entering the life you already have. The sacred isn't somewhere else, waiting for you to achieve enough, or change enough, or become enough to access it. The sacred is here, in this step, in this breath, in this moment of being alive. Your morning walk to the bathroom is as worthy of your full attention as any meditation retreat, any sacred ceremony, any spiritual practice. Because it's real, it's happening, it's your actual life unfolding right now. When you walk this way, slowly, consciously, present to each step, you're doing exactly what the Buddha did on those dusty roads in ancient India. You're living an awakened life, not just thinking about awakening, or preparing for it, or hoping for it, someday. You're awake right now, in this step. Tomorrow morning and the morning after, you don't need to do all 10 of these practices perfectly. You don't need to do all 10 at all. Maybe you start with just one. Maybe gratitude, that hand on your heart, that simple thank you before the day begins. Maybe it's these mindful steps, walking slowly and consciously instead of rushing on autopilot. Maybe it's the gentle smile, that small gesture of kindness toward yourself. Whatever calls to you, whatever feels possible right now, that's your beginning. That's enough. You don't need to be perfect at it. You don't need to do it the same way every day. You don't need to never forget, or never get distracted, or never fall back into old patterns. You just need to begin. And then begin again tomorrow, and again the day after that. Each morning is a new opportunity, a fresh chance to meet yourself with kindness, to start your day consciously rather than automatically, to choose presence over absence. The practices are simple because truth is simple. We complicate it. We make it difficult. We create elaborate spiritual systems and techniques. But the Buddha's discovery was profoundly simple. Be here. Be awake. Be kind. Everything else is just different ways of saying the same thing. Different doors into the same room. Different paths up the same mountain. These 10 teachings are now planted in your awareness like seeds in soil. Some will take root immediately, sprouting into practices you do daily. Others will lie dormant for a while, before suddenly making sense, before becoming part of your morning rhythm. All of them are available to you whenever you need them. You might return to this recording tomorrow, next week, months from now, when you've forgotten and need to remember again. The teachings will be here, patient and unchanging, waiting for you to return. Because that's what practice is, returning. Not achieving some permanent state of enlightenment where you never struggle or forget or fall back into unconsciousness. Just returning again and again with gentleness and without judgment. Each return is complete. Each moment of remembering is enough. Each conscious step, each grateful breath, each gentle smile, complete in itself, perfect as it is. So tomorrow morning, take your first steps mindfully. Feel your feet kiss the earth. Be here for it. Be alive for it. And carry that quality of presence with you as you move into your day, knowing that every step is an opportunity to arrive, to be here, to live this one precious life with awareness and care. These teachings have been offered. Now they're yours to practice, to explore, to make your own. Walk gently into your morning. Walk gently into your life. We've walked these 10 teachings together, like following a path through a forest. each teaching a clearing where light comes through differently: gratitude, breath, intention, release, stillness, loving kindness, observation, gentleness, simplicity, mindful movement. But it's all been one path, one forest, one light, showing itself in different ways. You don't need to carry all 10 teachings with you tomorrow. That would be a heavy burden, and that's not what practice is. Choose one that resonated with you. Maybe it was gratitude, that simple hand on heart saying, "Thank you." Maybe the gentle smile spoke to you, that small gesture of tenderness toward yourself. Maybe it was these final steps, walking with awareness instead of rushing on autopilot. Whatever called to you, that's your practice tomorrow. Just that one, and that's enough. The Buddha taught 84,000 different Dharma doors, they say, all leading to the same place: peace, presence, freedom from suffering. Don't try to walk through every door at once. Find the one that's open for you right now and step through it. Tomorrow morning your alarm will sound, or you'll wake naturally with first light, and you'll have a choice. The old pattern is still there, reaching immediately for your phone, mind racing before you're even fully awake, day beginning from a place of reactivity and tension. That pattern has grooves worn deep from years of repetition. It will still be the easier path. But now there's another possibility. Hand on heart, one breath, a moment of conscious beginning before the day sweeps you away. This choice isn't made once and then done. It's made every single morning. And here's what's true about practice that nobody talks about enough. You won't be perfect at it. Some mornings you'll forget everything we've explored here. You'll be halfway through your day before you suddenly remember, "Oh, I was going to practice gratitude this morning. I was going to breathe consciously. I completely forgot." That's not failure. That's being human. The practice isn't never leaving, never forgetting, never falling back into old patterns. The practice is returning, again and again, with patience and without harsh judgment, just coming back. In the Buddha's final words to his students before he died, he said something profound. Be a lamp unto yourself. He didn't say, "Follow me blindly, worship me, depend on me for your awakening." He said, "Find your own light. These teachings are matches I've offered you, but you must strike them yourself." This isn't about becoming a different person. You're not broken and needing to be fixed. You already have what Buddhists call Buddha nature, the capacity for awareness, for peace, for presence. It's already in you, complete and whole. These practices don't create something new. They remove the obscurations, like wiping dust from a mirror. The mirror was always clear underneath. Everyone who's listened to these teachings with you, across cities and countries and time zones, people you'll never meet, you're all connected by this shared practice. This isn't solitary work, even though you do it alone each morning. There's an invisible web connecting everyone who chooses to begin their day consciously, who practices presence, who walks gently through this life. You're not alone in this. The Dhammapada, one of the Buddha's core teachings, says this: better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. You now have 10 words, 10 practices. Even one of them, lived fully and sincerely, is enough to change everything. So tomorrow morning, when you wake and the day hasn't yet made its demands, remember, you have a choice. You have these practices. You have this moment. The morning is a door opening. You can walk through it awake. Thank you for these hours we've spent together, for your willingness to listen, to consider, to maybe try one of these practices tomorrow morning. Your practice matters. You matter. May you wake with peace. May your mornings become sacred, not through grand gestures, but through simple presence. May you find the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary, in your breath, in your steps, in the water you drink, and the light coming through your window. May you walk gently through this life. May you be kind to yourself when you forget, and patient when you remember. May you know, deep in your being, that you're already home.